welcome to Texas REIAs. Excited to be here with you guys tonight. We got a lot of folks in our live audience here, and we meet every Tuesday as part of our Texas REIAs group. We meet in Austin, Houston, Dallas, and San Antonio because we invest in Austin, Houston, Dallas, and San Antonio. So we are your one-stop shop for all things real estate investing here in Texas. So we live here, we work here, we invest here. I know some of you guys are probably listening to and learning from people who do not live here, work here, invest here. And I will tell you, please proceed with caution if you are taking real estate investing advice from someone who may not live here, work here, invest here, because they may be telling you to do things that may not actually serve you, may be illegal, may get you into some trouble, may send you on a wild goose chase, which is what I find is kind of the biggest problem. And then 6 months later, you're like, oh, wow, that thing that the YouTube guru taught me did not work. So, and I say that, guys, knowing that I have a YouTube channel. But again, I am all things Texas specifically. So if you guys are planning on investing here, which is the state basically where everyone is moving, and I highly recommend you invest in places where people are moving to as opposed to where people are moving from, just because you'll get to see the appreciation in terms of the value of your investment going up versus if you're investing in a place where people are moving away from, you're not going to be able to see that. Now, some people say, and I'll ask just kind of a poll, and guys, may I ask that we have some fun here tonight while we're all together? Okay, 3 people are totally on board with that. I am so stoked. So thank you for that, guys. But I am curious to know. So, and I'll ask you guys to kind of answer some questions for me. How many of you are in your mind are thinking Texas is too expensive? The Dallas-Fort Worth market is too expensive. Any of you guys? Is this, I can't tell if you're giving me like a signal or you're picking your nose. So it was a signal, it was a scratch, okay. So is anyone thinking that? Anybody thinking that? Anybody thinking that? Is anybody thinking that Dallas is on sale? Anybody thinking that Texas is on sale? Okay, one person. So, you know, what are your thoughts on the market? I'm curious. You're the only person who raised your hand saying that Texas was on sale, so I'm curious what your thoughts are. You said it's expensive. Okay, all right. So is anybody else here to support her and think that this market is expensive? Okay, a couple of you guys. So I'm curious. Have you been here most of your life?
I've been here from California since 2012.
Been here since California since 2012. Have you guys been here most of your life? All your lives, okay. So here's what I see about the lifers, if you will. So the lifers will typically say something like, well, I remember when you could buy that area or that property for insert price that's $200,000 or $300,000 below what it's selling for right now. Do you guys find yourself saying that? It's okay, right? So probably a lot of you guys who have been here for a long time probably think and say that. And you know, what's funny is I typically say kind of, you know, get your perspective from someone who's moving here from California. Because when a Californian moves here, it basically looks like everything is on sale. Literally, it's like they get their Texas driver's license and they say, I'm rich, right? It's like, didn't feel that way in California, but really feel that way right now in Texas. But what I find is a lot of people who have this, and I'll call it a limiting belief, if you will, that, you know, because you remember when, because your perspective is so deep, sometimes that taints your ability to see what the market is right here, right now, today. So, because I don't want you to say in another 10 years, I remember when 10 years ago you could have bought this for insert some price that is half of what it's selling for in 10 years, right? Because what do we know about the market? Do we know we're going to be saying that? Is that pretty much a lock, a guarantee? This is the interactive part. I can literally hear you breathing. Please, it's really okay. What was the question again? Can you see yourself being in a position where you're going to be looking back in 10 years and saying, I wish I would have gotten started 10 years ago, or I remember 10 years ago when the values were less than what they are right now. So I see a lot of people who will also tell me, I'm curious, how many of you guys are looking to invest in other cities or states? And I'm curious, will you tell me why you're thinking about another city or state?
My partner does already.
Your partner does already. And how about you? You listen to North Carolina, the coastal area, what's left of some of the coastal area. Now, is that part of a longer term retirement plan? I'm just curious. Okay, how did I know that? I don't know. Who else is interested in a different city or state? Yeah, you in the back. Alabama, because we have land there. How about you? Just more opportunities. So what do we know about the Texas economy? What do we know about the Texas economy? It's like the 7th or 8th largest economy in the world, right? And people are moving here like crazy. So one thing that I see people get a little, especially as they're getting started, right? And especially some of the, what I'll call some of the lifers, the people who have been here for a long time. It's not unusual for those people to say, well, it's too expensive here, so we should go and invest someplace where it is cheaper. And sometimes people equate the concept of being a lower price is also being in what category? Is also being a deal, okay? Just because something is cheaper doesn't necessarily mean it's a deal, right? So where do we see that? So, you know, you said something interesting, the young woman in the back, you said, well, there's more land in Alabama. Okay, I don't know compared to Texas that is necessarily the accurate, but you know, I'll see people who say like, yeah, I want to go places where there's more land. I want to go places where the average price is lower. But do you work the same amount of hours on a house that you're flipping that's $200,000 versus a house that you're flipping that's $400,000 or $600,000? Is that effectively just about the same amount of work? Except now you're doing 2 houses, which means 2 kitchens, which means, you know, 4 bathrooms, which means, you know, 4 land, you know, all of those different things, right? So you're putting in more work for probably about the same amount of money. And I will say, if you can't find a deal here in Texas, then it's kind of like in New York, they say if you can't make it here, or if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. I'll say if you can't make a deal here, then you can't make a deal anywhere else either. So I want you guys to be of the mindset that, you know, in the Dallas-Fort Worth market, about over 100,000 houses sell on the MLS every single year, right? Probably another 20+ thousand houses, probably more, sell off of the MLS every single year, right? In Texas as a whole, over 400,000 houses are selling every single year in Texas, right? Do you think you guys should be able to find a house here in Texas? And the answer I would hope would be yes. You don't have to go to other states just because it's cheaper, and just because it's cheaper doesn't mean that it's going to be a better deal, right? If you have a power team here, if you have local resources here, the likelihood that you will be successful goes up exponentially than if you're trying to manage a deal that's far away. And I always tell this story of, you know, for my husband and I, we like to write off our vacations. How many other business owners like to write off their vacations? Okay, yeah, okay. So sometimes when we go to Hawaii, we will speak at the local Hawaii Real Estate Investor Association meeting, right? So we can kind of get that time in real estate while we are there. And the real estate, the person who was running the association had told us that someone would come in to talk to them. So they're light on people to come and speak, right? It's a long flight to get over there. But a group had come in from like Indiana and said, guys, you guys from Hawaii, you need to be doing what? Investing in Indiana. Why do they want them? Why do they say you should be investing in Indiana? It's less expensive. By how much? By like 90%, right? Is the average house price in Hawaii over $600,000 at that time, right? And they were coming in and they were saying you could buy all these houses in Indiana for $60,000, right? This is about 10 years ago. And they were right. The prices were lower, right? And so they kind of tried to convince these folks that, you know, you were getting a good deal. And several people from Hawaii left that beautiful state and started investing with some of these people in Indiana because they thought they were getting a great deal. Fast forward 3 years later, the person who came to speak to them has completely disappeared. Now they have houses that are not rented, now they have houses that need to be repaired, and now in some cases they have houses that need to be sold. Anybody here from Hawaii? I'm just curious. Anyone here from Hawaii? Anyone here been to Hawaii? Okay, a couple people been to Hawaii. So in Hawaii, when it's below 78 degrees, it's a cold front, right? And if it's above 82 degrees, it's a heat wave. Yes, that's like Hawaiian mindset, which is, you know, pretty accurate there, as you just kind of live in this time frame. So can you imagine being a Hawaiian and having invested in Indiana because the prices are cheaper there, and going to have to take care of that property now? And can you imagine, like, going up to your boss and saying, I need to take a little time off. And what's your boss going to say? Cool. Where are you going on? Are you going on vacation? Where are you going? Remember, they're in Hawaii. So the person in Hawaii says, well, we're actually going to Indiana. Oh, Indiana. Oh, I'm sorry. Who died? Right? Think about that. Why else would you go? Why else would you leave Hawaii to go to Indiana? Right? So in this time period, houses were selling for 600-ish in Hawaii, and they bought all these properties for 60-ish in Indiana. And over this 3-year period, now houses in Hawaii are selling for 900, and the houses in Indiana are selling for 60. Way to go, guys. So just remember, just because another place is cheaper, just because you remember when that house used to sell for some much significantly lower amount, right, doesn't mean that you need to go and chase deals in other cities. Now, does it mean that you need to get in now, right? So they say the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time would be today, right? The same is true for real estate investing. And so I've been investing for 20 years now, and I will tell you that it's great to start now, and I see a lot of investors that are killing it right now. But if you had your druthers, if I had my druthers for all of you, I would have loved for you guys to have started 20 years ago. But the truth is, what do we know about what's going to happen with this Texas market? How's it going to look in another 10, 20 years? Okay, yeah, so it's going to be a straight line? It's going to be a series of market cycles, right? It's going to be a series of market cycles. So we need to know how to handle those different market cycles. How many of you guys are worried about interest rates right now? Okay, a couple of you guys. You, sir, in the back row with the beard. Tell me what you're thinking about interest rates. They're crazy on the rise. You're not buying a home right now if you're a first-time home buyer. Oh, good luck buying a home right now if you're a first-time home. People are still buying. Is that true? You're a licensed loan officer. So sales are down somewhere around 15 to 25% depending on which market you're in. Dallas is around 17% versus where we were last year. Austin, for example, is down about 25% versus where we are last year. It feels different, though. How many realtors are in the room? I'm curious. Does it feel different now versus how it felt a year ago? It's so interesting. It's like a year ago it was like all we care about are getting sellers. Now that is completely shifted to all we care about is having buyers, right? And the buyers are still buying for sure, but they're buying at a much reduced pace over what they were buying versus the same time last year. So the pace is still very strong, but it's closer to like a 2019 pace, right? And what do we think is going to happen with interest rates over the course of the next 6 months? They're going to keep going up. They're going to keep going up. Why? Because we have a Fed chairman who's going full Volcker, right? So have any of you guys heard them talk about Jerome Powell like that? So I think they're going to continue to go up. And you know, I've over the last 6 months, I've heard some people say something that I find really cute and adorable, which is I'm seeing a lot of people say, quote unquote, when rates go back down. How many of you guys think we'll ever see rates like we saw a year ago? One person does. One person does. 2 people do. Does it have to do with the amount of debt that we have? Is that why you think that's the case?
Well, I think that eventually most of the world are making interest rate history, so it has to go back to 2%.
So you think because most of the world like is when they're doing loans, like I think like Japan and Australia had been doing like negative interest rate loans. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. So I can't see us going back to that 2 to 3%. I mean, if you would have told me, you know, not most of the world, if you would have told me like, oh, we can't afford to pay our debt if it goes much higher, right? Then I would say, yeah, no, I hear you. And then what? And then so some of the other Fed officials are saying what? Hey, stop going full Volcker, right? Pump the brakes a little bit on these rises. I can see us pumping the brakes a little bit on the rises, but I don't see any changes anytime soon when it comes to the interest rate. So, you know, if you guys, and I know some of you guys said that you are realtors, right? If I were you, I would be telling your would-be buyers who might be sitting on the fence and thinking about renting, you better buy something now before rates continue to do what? Go up. Because I don't think they're going to be going down anytime probably in the next, minimum the next year, right? And then I would say, you know, when I'm talking, you know, when you're talking to a buyer, I might also suggest that this is the only time that over the last 2 years we've been in a market where you're seeing more price decreases than you are seeing price increases. And this is the only time in the last 2 years where you're not going to have to compete against 65 other offers. And this is the only time over the last 2 years. For the last 2 years, there have been a few words that have been absent in the MLS. What are those words? Motivated, motivated seller. But all of a sudden, what are you starting to see now? You're starting to see things like motivated seller, right? And then I will just say, like in terms of worrying about the market, being concerned about the market, what percentage of buyers are buying cash? It's roughly about 30% of the buyers are buying cash. So they're a little insensitive to these rate hikes. And then, you know, it's so interesting because I'm seeing a lot of lenders, and you, sir, you said you're a lender. So I'm seeing something I haven't seen since probably 2008. So adjustable rate mortgages, right? So where you basically buying down the rate to get it so that it's more affordable today, and then let it adjust over time, thinking that what? When interest rates go down, right? So again, I'm worried about that. But what I'm excited and hopeful for the mortgage industry to get a little bit more creative, and we saw some of this creativity in 2008. Now some of them before 2008, which landed us in a fair amount of trouble. But I would love to see, and in 2006, for example, I had heard stories about. Some of the lenders giving 70-year-olds 40-year mortgages. How's that going to work out? I'm not sure. I know they live a little longer in California, but I wouldn't think that much longer. But I would love to see 40-year mortgages, because 40-year mortgages will stem what? The payment. Because ultimately, do they care about what they're buying the house for? What do they care about? The payment, right? Because the lenders are doing a debt-to-income ratio. And if you can adjust that debt-to-income ratio by doing a 40-year amortization, does that make something that was previously unaffordable? Well, yeah, no, now it makes sense, right? Just like having a 30-year mortgage makes sense to people as opposed to putting $500,000 down, right? They've created different loan packages in the past, right? Exactly like that. So I'm just waiting for them to get a little bit more creative at some point. So I'm hoping that's going to be the case, but we'll see. And we'll see if it continues, how we continue to raise rates. So I will tell you, when I first started investing in real estate, rates were between 7 and 9%, okay? Nobody felt sorry for me. Nobody cried. The market was still doing its thing. What had happened? What was the difference between now versus then? That was the norm. Yeah. It's perspective, right? When you had perspective that, okay, well, their rates are going to be in that 7 to 8% range, then it's like, oh, it's just what it is. How long does it take for something to become the norm? It's psychological, right? So what am I waiting for? What are you waiting for? I'm waiting for a new crop of buyers who don't say, well, I remember when. Think about it. I remember when interest rates were 2 or 3%. No, I'm waiting for the buyers who don't have a memory of that because they were not buyers at that time. How long does that take? I don't, someone said 3 years. I don't know what that answer is. I don't know what that answer is, but at some point it will kick in. So I'm curious. I see some of you guys in here with no hair and gray hair, which means you may have been a buyer of a property in the 80s. Anyone in here bought a property in the 80s? Anyone? Yeah. So you both don't have gray or no hair. So but that's good living. So that's awesome. Did you feel like, honey, we better go and get that mortgage while rates are still 16% because the Fed's going to be raising them to 18%. We better rush and hurry. Were we still selling homes when interest rates were that high? The answer is yes. What's the difference? It's perspective. And I think at some point buyers are going to be saying, holy cow, I better get in there before what? Before he goes even more full Volcker, right? He continues to raise those. So something to chew on, something to think about. I'm curious, how many of you guys are working on opportunities right now? We're talking to a seller right now.
I have a question.
You have a question? Yes, ma'am.
At what point do we assemble a team?
The question was, if you'll take that mic, you see that mic standing right there? Actually, let me see if I can get to here. Okay. You see that mic right there? Stand over there, and I'd love to interview you and talk to you about this. Yes. What is your name, ma'am?
Dawn, the breaking of a new day.
Dawn, the breaking of a new day. Who wants to top that? Yeah. All right. So welcome, Dawn. So your question was, what are we going to talk about building a power team?
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
I mean, where you're at.
Will you talk more in the microphone?
I'm sorry. Where you're at, you're way over my head.
Okay.
I'm at the basic fundamental.
Okay. Thank you for
Assembling
that,
a
yeah.
team.
Okay.
My agent, my contractor,
We'll do that right now.
my
We'll
property
do that.
manager.
We'll do that right now. How many? If you're an agent in the room, will you raise your hand? No, stay. Oh no, we're not done. This day is gonna dawn over time. Oh yeah. It's going to be one of those skies you're like, I don't want to walk away from this guy. So do we have some agents in the room? Yeah, we have some agents in the room. Where do you find, and would you like to help an investor, like buy a couple of properties? Yeah, probably, right? And I'm just curious, who are my contractors in the room, if you'll raise your hand? Okay, would you like to help? Oh, there's one. All the rest of you are like doing what? I mean, I know what you're doing. You're either at Ruth's Chris eating steak that I paid for, and so did everyone else in this room, right? Or you are still working because it's still light outside, right? And you got probably more projects than you can actually handle. So typically you're going to find a 1 to 10 ratio in my room of contractor to realtors, right? Your whole power team's in this room. I'm curious, and some of you guys, some of you guys will be shy, and I understand that. We'll just make a rule that no one follows anyone to the parking lot. Is that okay? Is that okay? Especially not in a creepy sort of a way. Non-creepy is acceptable, but don't be creepy. I don't want to have to, worry about that. So I'm curious. I know we have at least one lender in the room. Do we have any other lenders in the room? Raise your hand if you're a lender. Okay. You see some people.
What about
in
a
this room.
wholesaler?
Who are my wholesalers in the room? That would be the entire room, really.
You got
probably.
any business cards?
Yeah. Yes. So what I will do is, Dawn, we're not finished dawning. So she's
You're
like,
so
I'm
charming.
at the beginning. Well, by the time we finish this, you're going to be at the end. You're going to have all that you need. So what I'll ask is, and I'll let you know when we wrap this up. What I'll ask is if you'll just kind of slowly walk down the hall and just just grab some stuff. Not yet, Dawn. We're still going. We're still going,
My
Dawn.
bad.
Yeah. Dawn, you're not going to make like that and expect that to expect nothing for that. So we got some wholesalers, got some lenders, we got some realtors, we've got one contractor.
What about a bird dog?
Any bird dogs in the room? Okay, one right behind you. I'm curious, do we have any lawyers in the room? Just want to know who I'm offending in advance. Just want to make sure I know. Okay, none. Okay, they're hanging it out in the back later. So any CPAs and accountants in the room? Okay. A couple people that are the head, if you needed a head scratcher or nose picker, we got a couple of those in the room. So I can't tell if they're giving me what kind of signal they're giving me.
What about a hard money lender?
Oh, we got a hard money lender. We have private money lenders in here. We probably don't have a hard money lender. If you're interested in investing and lending to someone else, will you raise your hand? Really, no one?
I know.
Come on, no one, really. This is why I said we're not going to follow you to the parking lot. That's why I took the air out of that one, took the worry out of that one. Who are my private money lenders in the room? Super curious. Okay, really no one. Okay, really no one. Okay, well, I'll trust you on your word on this. Who would like to be a private money lender? Okay, a couple of you guys. I'm curious, Brittany and Matt, do you happen to have an old 401k from where you used to work before you got into the business of being a realtor and a contractor? Yes. What are you doing with that 401k? There's nothing in it right now. Matt, how about you? The stock market was really hard on you, Brittany. I mean, most people have said they're down 20%, but very few say there's nothing left in there. Matt, how about you? Same thing. Okay, who has some money in a 401k? It's okay, guys. All right, and keep your hand up. Keep your hand up. Keep your hand up if you have also had what's called a separation of employment, meaning you quit or you got fired. Wait, how did you? No, you. Okay, so let me tell you something. Let me make you a private money lender tonight. Okay, let me make you a private money lender tonight. And so Don, you'd also asked, should we take some notes in here? Yes, we're going to be taking notes in here. There is a company called Quest Trust. How many of you guys are familiar with Quest Trust? Okay, Quest Trust has over $2 billion under management of people's old what? 401ks turned into self-directed IRAs. And what can we do in a self-directed IRA? We can invest. What can we invest in? Real estate. We can invest in basically everything except life insurance policies, because we don't invest in dead people. That's an IRS rule. I didn't make it. And then you can't invest in collectibles. Okay, so those are like the two big rules. Now, so you can hold rental property in your real estate. You can give loans to other investors out of your self-directed IRA. You can buy shares, and I know one person said multifamily. So you can buy shares of Class A, Class B, and a multifamily investment as well in your self-directed IRA. So let me try this question again. How many of you guys are now private money lenders? Okay, yeah. So all you need is what's called a separation of employment. When you have that separation of employment, then now all of a sudden you've done this beautiful thing in your self-directed in your 401k, which is basically setting it free. Setting it free to invest however you would like to invest. So I don't know, I probably got you maybe 50 business cards roughly tonight.
You've done a great job.
I've done a great job.
And
well,
all
thank
I did
you.
was sit there and say,
all you
I'm
did is
Dawn, the
all you
breaking
did
of
is
a
said,
new
it's
day.
like, I'm Dawn. Like, yeah, so, yeah.
Yeah.
So Dawn, I'm Shenoah. Nice to meet you,
Hi,
and
the pleasure's all mine.
happy to help you as part of your real estate investing journey. So that's what we do here as part of the Real Estate Investor Association. Part of what I love to do, and this is maybe like I don't know if being a connector is a love language, but it's like
It is one to me.
It
It's
is one to
singing
me.
right
It is
now.
one
It's
to me
singing
too.
a love
So
song right now.
I often joke that I am like a 1920s phone operator in my business. You need what? Oh yes, hold on, let me connect you.
Can I get
You
your
need
phone?
what? Oh yes, let me, and this is what I do all day long. I share contact cards and I put people together. That is one of the big reasons that people join a group, an association, so that they can grow together, so they can start a business together, so they can take it from the beginning of the dawn to the end of the dawn, right? And do that. So thank you for allowing me to be of service to you
Can I have your
tonight.
card?
You can have my card. Yes, you can. Yeah. So, and guys, thank you for allowing me to do what I call a coaching group coaching session. So this is one of the things that we get to do as part of the association. Just to give you an idea about how you can start your business at the dawn, at the beginning, or grow your business. So we help as many people start their businesses as part of this association as we do grow and scale their business. So that's part of what we do at Texas REIA. So thank you for being part of this with us. And let's